Today we're looking at Adobe Illustrator CS4, the use of the gradient palettes and the gradient tool to construct three-dimensional representations. We're going to construct a copper pipe, and we're going to be working with implying light and shade detail in an object to create the illusion of three dimension. The gradient palette works in conjunction with this tool right here, the gradient tool. First, we're going to begin by creating an ellipse. So we go to our Graphics Primitives menu, choose the ellipse tool. We're going to draw the ellipse from center, so we need to hold down the Option modifier key, then hold down our mouse key and drag. We're also going to hold the Shift key down to ensure that we draw a perfect circle. Now there are some default settings here. We're going to change those. We're going to switch off the stroke, so the stroke is now active in the foreground. I'm going to choose none for the stroke. You will notice that in the gradient palette that it has a list of default gradients that come pre-packaged with Adobe Illustrator. We're just going to use this basic one here. So when we click it, you'll notice that it's applied that gradient to our object. You'll notice down here that there's a representation of the gradient, and it's represented by three components. One is a start color slider, an end color slider, and a midpoint slider. Currently, when we click on here, you will notice that the color palette is showing a K. That letter K represents black. This is a grayscale. If you want to work in color, if you go to the flyaway menu in the color palette, you can choose CMYK, allowing you then to mix a custom color. Because we're working on creating the illusion of a copper pipe, I'm going to work with sort of reddy browns, yellows, and oranges in order to approximate the color of copper. I choose that. I can make some minor modifications with the sliders if I wish. You'll notice that my start color slider has changed color, and subsequently the active circle, and I know that it's active because it's outlined in purple indicating its activity, it too changes to reflect this new reality. I'm going to select the end color slider and go back to the color palette and choose CMYK and select an end color as well. I'm going to lighten this up a little bit. And there we have it. Got a highlight, color, and we have a shadow color. The midpoint slider dictates where the start color and the end color mix at a ratio of 50-50. If I move this to the left, you will notice that the transition from light to dark happens very rapidly. Often this profile is referred to the transition speed. So the transition to the darker spectrum happens very quickly. If I go in the opposite direction, that transition is very slow. Eventually, when we go from 50% to 100% of the end color, this part of the transition happens very rapidly. So we're altering the speed of the transition and where the transition occurs. We can do this numerically or using a slider. And it defaults to 50%. You'll notice if we move the endpoint slider that from this position backwards, or here back, are given all the same color. And only the blend space occurs between these two sliders. More of this object is given the same coloration. And then at this juncture, we start the transition to the final darker brown. Likewise, if we move the brown in, the same occurs on that side. The closer those two colors are, the higher the contrast. Contrast really is a measure of the number of steps in between two colors. the further apart they are, the more intermediate steps of color are generated by this software. The closer they are, then the fewer number of steps. And in fact, if they are coterminous, it's really one step of color, going from one color to the next. That's extremely high contrast. You will notice that they can flip position. We can do it in this fashion too. There's a flip button that reverses the gradient. You will also notice that we can choose a type of gradient. We can use a radial gradient, or we can use a linear gradient. And we're going to work with a linear gradient for this example. But with a radial gradient, you can create orbs. You can also generate new colors wherever you click down on that color ramp. Wherever I click, it samples the color at that position and creates a new slider. You can copy a color slider by using the Option key. Remember, Option will almost always copy things for you. And you can see with a radial gradient and copying these alternating dark and light colors, I can create the effect of ripples. To get rid of sliders, we can delete them in this fashion, or click the delete or trash can button. Now, I'm going to introduce you to the gradient tool, and we're going to use not radial but linear gradient. When you use the gradient tool, it superimposes this bar, the slider bar. It's virtually a copy of this, but it superimposes it directly on the object. Rather than editing here, you can edit right on the object. So you can move the midpoint slider however you want it. You can move the endpoint sliders. And you can even go to the end and you see a rotation icon. You can even rotate those sliders. You can even determine new positioning just by dragging the tool. You'll notice in this case the start slider and the end slider colors don't even appear inside the object. So what that's saying is that this color from here all the way through to this color appear on this angle in this object. All of these colors out here and all of these colors out here do not appear anywhere inside that object. This gives you a tremendous amount of control over that object. For the time being, I'm just going to create a very simple vertical gradient. Just going to make a copy of it. So I'm using the Command key, remember, to access my pointer or selection tool. I'm going to make a copy of that by dragging it. What key do I use for copying? You notice when I hold the Option key down, you can see a double-headed arrow appear. What key do I use to constrain movement? The Shift key. And that's constraining movement along this lateral axis. So I'm just creating a copy over here for the time being. I'm going to create a rectangle that matches the height of that circle. Now these two things look like they're fused together. What I want to do is formally fuse those two objects together. I'm just trying to get them at exactly the same height. I'm going to select that. And I'm going to fuse these objects together using a function called the Pathfinder, Command-Shift F9. The Pathfinder defines shape-on-shape interactions. We can use objects and to fuse together to create new objects, or we can use objects to subtract areas from existing objects, or to use objects and their intersection points to generate new objects. So there are a number of functions here that will allow you to rapidly generate new shapes. So what I'm going to do now, hold down the Command key, I'm going to select the circle and that rectangle and use the Unite function, and it fuses those two separate objects into a singular object. Now, I've got this circle here, and this is going to be in profile. And I want this to look like it's a kind of solid copper bar that's being cut. And my light is kind of coming in on this angle, and this is going to be a cut surface. What I might want to do is just make a copy. So I'm option dragging a copy, and I'm going to make this a little bit darker here. And I'll do likewise here. Command, click on the object, option drag a copy, make it a little bit darker. I'm just adding a little more red in there. And what that's helping me to do is create a very strong highlight here. In fact, I can boost the lightness of that highlight to make it look even stronger. Now this object here, I need to bring in front. So our keyboard shortcut for that is Command Shift right bracket. It moves it in front. Now because the light would hit this surface first and not this surface, these values should be slightly darker. What I want to do is slightly rotate it, so I will use the, don't forget, we can use the gradient tool, and I can rotate this so that it's on a slight angle. And again, I can stretch this from here to here, and I can also move the sliders to positions that I feel give me a better rendering of that surface. So that's what I've got so far. Kind of a bar that's being cut. I'm going to make a copy of that circle. Just option drag it. I want to copy this paint characteristic here. So I can use the sample tool right here, sample this coloration, and it's given me that same coloration. I can use this to flip the gradient so it's darker on top, lighter on the bottom. And again, I can use my gradient tool to make any necessary adjustments. So what I'm trying to do here is create a circle. I'll make it much smaller so that it goes in front here, and necessarily it would be darker up here because no light is hitting that surface, and we would have it lighter down here. Now I'm assuming all of these colors would be darker in here. So if I select this color, which is here, If I select that, I can make them all darker just by adding a little bit of black in there if I want, or just moving all the values down a little bit. And here, if you hold the Shift key down, you can move all the sliders at once. And then finally, we can create that. Now these things are not aligned. And that's not a problem because we can select these two elements, and you'll notice at the top of your screen we have these alignment icons. And this allows us to align things in their vertical centers and horizontal centers. And likewise, we could select all three objects and say align them all on their vertical centers. And now I can move these things over just a little bit. And we've created the illusion of that pipe. The only thing that I would say is that I'm going to select both this and this. In order to select these two things, I need to use a shift clicking technique. So I hold the Command key down to toggle onto my selection tool. Then I click here to select it, hold the Shift key down to select that. Now I need to let go of the Shift key because if I keep selecting, it deselects. Shift clicking alternately selects and deselects things. So I let go of that Shift key, and it gives me access to the bounding box for these two objects, which, if I squish it this way, helps to reinforce the illusion a bit more, I find. Just grants a little bit more perspective. And so we have used the gradient function and the color palette in conjunction with that, and the Pathfinder tool to generate new shapes, as well as the gradient tool to define positioning of the highlight and shadows. We've used all of that to imply a three-dimensional structure in that pipe. And that concludes the podcast